Welcome back to Media Week. Well, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation has announced it's phasing out its ABC shops with a loss of up to 300 jobs. It will instead concentrate on online sales and ABC-branded outlets in other retailers. ABC shops were first started 35 years ago, but the broadcaster believes the new strategy will be more cost-effective. Well, for more and all the other media news of the week as well, James Heyer, CEO of MEC Australia and New Zealand, still with us in the studio. James, I guess it's no surprise to hear this sort of cost-cutting happening at the networks and happening at the television stations. The Australian broadcaster obviously announcing this. What do you make of the news?
I don't think it's related to any of the cost-cutting at the networks. It's really a business problem, and ABC, when you walk into the store, you know it's about books and DVDs. Look at that entire category and the well-known disasters such as Borders imploding. It's something that was going to happen anyway. It's happened a bit later actually than for other brands in this category. And it's not a retail story. If you look at luxury brands, they're continuing to open retail experiences across Australia.
So it's really showing a media story of the shift to online.
It's the shift to online. It's the fact that a lot of those products have become commoditized, and it's certainly not a viable retail route right now.
All right, so it doesn't surprise you somewhat?
No, it's just taken a bit longer than the rest of the pack.
Yeah, OK. Well, let's move on to something else, because ACMA and Southern Cross Stereo, they've finally been talking. We've obviously been hearing about this for a while. They've reached an agreement regarding the punishment, of course, for the station for that royal prank call, and there'll be some new licence conditions, a 3-hour educational program to be broadcast. They won't be taken off the air, though. Do you think that's a fair punishment?
I think it's pretty subjective, really. I'm not too sure there's a precedent for prank call punishment. So I think it's really harsh to say whether that's right or wrong, but certainly I think to take away an entity's ability to make commercial good would be fought in the courts, and I think ACMA didn't want to go and put too strong a punitive punishment with them. So certainly from my perspective, I think it's not unexpected what they've done, and I don't think they were ever going to do anything that was going to be harmful from a commercial perspective. From
a brand perspective, from a marketing perspective, do you think this has done any damage to the brand, to Today FM's brand?
I'd look at what has done damage to Today FM's brand. So radio is about talent management, and some of that talent management is managing what they say on air, and some of that talent management is making sure they don't run off to the competition.
Right. Been a couple of issues there then.
So, I mean, I think that's the real thing. It is about talent management. It's not about what they said, and it's something that the station is obviously going to have to get better at. And certainly, their competitors created an entire new station to be able to accommodate their talent.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the changes,
complete shift in strategy for KISS.
A fundamental change, and obviously with the new CEO coming on board, with Grant, it'll be interesting to see how he takes them forward and what his interpretation of talent management is.
OK, well, that'll be interesting. Do you think he'll do a good job?
You know what? He has experience in media. He's been out for a while, so maybe he has some fresh ideas to bring. Yeah,
OK, it's all about fresh ideas. Now, David Lakey, let's talk Network 10, because there's talk now that David Lakey's been linked with Network 10. Do you think, would advertisers have an opinion on this, on his ability to help turn around the company?
Well, I think everyone would have an understanding of his track record. I mean, the turnaround of 7, obviously with the rise of great US programming at the same time, but certainly he has that understanding of the free-to-air TV landscape. What he brings to 10 is an intimate understanding of 7. Obviously, he really gets 9 as well. I think the difference is I keep saying free-to-air, and that's not just their competition now. It's not a matter of how well you manage the other free-to-airs. Those are your local competitors. It's your global competitors, and we've just talked about Netflix, obviously, but it's also Google and Facebook. So how well Lakey actually navigates this new course, I think, will be the challenge for him, not his understanding of free-to-air networks.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned those competitors, because, of course, streaming is such a big space, and you would know that, having Netflix as one of your clients. But Yahoo 7 announcing what's being called a 4th channel for 7 West Media as well, which seems to be having sort of a bet on all possible outcomes with free-to-air, paid streaming, and now plus 7.
You've called it. It's a portfolio play, and I think it's a smart thing to do. If your distribution system is under threat, you look for other ways of distributing, and that's exactly what they've done. And if you had an investment fund, you would start spreading where you want your money. So I think it's a natural, smart business move that they've done.
Do you think there is enough room in the market for everybody, for Netflix, for all the networks, for all the streaming? We've got Apple TV. Do you think there's enough for consumers? Do you think consumers will sort of have a piece of everything?
So, the start of any new category, there's always more competitors that can be held by the end. And what's going to happen is there will be some that will fall away and there's some that are going to rise. And it's just, if we think about Foxtel, whilst you have an enormous bouquet and lots of choice, in the end you'll settle down to the half dozen channels that you watch all the time. And it's going to be the same with the different bouquets. People are going to try them, people are going to like them. There's lots of ways to trial for free. And yeah,
So will there be a time frame when we might see some drop off? How long do you think it will take for consumers to get comfortable with one or the other?
I think they're going to drop off quicker than consumers have time to get comfortable. And what I mean by that is some of the fiscal models that are around won't allow them to survive long enough to give the consumers time to take hold.
All right. Let's talk Screen Australia, because they've funded development of a number of high-end TV projects, including a new series seeing Kate Blanchett, of course, working with Matchbox Pictures, I should say. Could this help generate some different TV projects to the constant diet of reality that many viewers are sort of offered? And is that a good thing?
There's a reason there's a constant diet of reality shows. It's high tonnage, it fills up the schedule, and if it's successful, it can have a disparate proportionate effect on the station, and that's the station effect. And I think that's the important difference between that and putting on something like drama, because if you have a very successful run on drama, it doesn't have the station effect because it hasn't got that sheer tonnage. The other thing I think is interesting is with reality, and the case in point became House Rules. If it has a poor or a slow start, which House Rules did on debut, you're actually able to change it mid-flow with the amount of footage that you have, and that's exactly what they did successfully. If your drama doesn't kick off from the get-go, there's no change. You're going to live with it, you're going to push it out to certain time channels, and you're going to start repeating it.
So you have to have a strong start if you have a drama?
Yeah, you have to have a strong start. And there's also a different viewing habit. So the great thing for the free-to-airs is that the reality shows drive that live viewing and they drive the habit, whereas something like reality can be something that you can view afterwards. So certainly in terms of the viewing habits, it means I don't have to go to it live. I'm more than happy to watch it at another time, another space, on another device.
Speaking of watching on other devices, 7 Adelaide celebrating its 50th birthday this weekend with a special program. But just wondering where you stand on the viability and the traditional free-to-air TV model, because there's a lot of talk that perhaps it's no longer viable.
I think we should pause there and say happy birthday to Adelaide Channel 7 on your 50th.
50 years.
And the presence in the post. I think we should, when we talk about free-to-air, I think what we think about is the very rational piece of it, which is a linear stream of free content through to a television. What we don't think about, and what we should be thinking about, is the brand. We have extremely strong brands in this market. They are the mastheads. And with that comes an incredible ability to produce great local content. So if we take that great local content and they put that in the right formats going forward, they've got a great business model. It's exactly what the HBOs and the like are able to do, obviously on a global basis, but producing strong content, right formats with brands that are recognised is something they have as assets beyond the linear free content to a TV.
All right, well, let's see how the free-to-airs are doing this week in the ratings for week 29. Kicking it off with, as I mentioned, free-to-air there. And you can see The Voice, of course, taking the top 3 positions. No surprises there, no doubt. Sunday, Monday and Tuesday versions of The Voice. 9 News and 7 News also making it into that list. Turning the page for the rest of the top 10 there, you've got MasterChef really heading into the final weeks there, and 9 News and 60 Minutes rounding out those top 10 free-to-air. Now, subscription television, we'll kick it off with the top 5 sport. You've got AFL and NRL, no surprises there. Rugby championships in there as well, and Super Saturday for the NRL. And turning the page with the top 5 non-sport, bit of a mixed picture there. You've got The Simpsons taking out the top spot, Toy Story, a couple of movies in there blended as well, and River Cottage Australia, which does pretty well for lifestyle food. All right, let's talk TV now in a bit more detail, because there's plenty more reality TV to come this year. It tends to do okay for the networks, but Nine announcing another series of Celebrity Apprentice this year. Given the audience trends, it's sort of had trouble sometimes connecting. Do you think we'll be able to reconnect with previous viewers?
I laugh when I hear you say reconnect, because I'll tell you who it is going to reconnect with, and that's advertisers.
Right.
Because it's actually one of the most friendly brand formats. You can put the brand story in there.
Why is that?
Because the integration that's allowed in a contemporary show with people trying to market products or market themselves lends itself really easily to the different advertisers that want to take advantage of it.
Lots of products want to be involved in that, right?
Correct. So reconnect with advertisers, I think it will. Reconnect with audiences, well, what Nine's got the opportunity to do is give it a really great rolling start. It's got the Ashes, it's got The Voice, and with the right promotion, it'll certainly give that the momentum that it needs heading in. Obviously, after that, it's going to be all about the content when they can retain that viewer.
Okay, well, the Ashes, sport, a totally different story. The cricket's been a very big hit for Gem, obviously. Record multi-channel audiences. Any thoughts about how multi-channels are sort of developing and how attractive are they for advertisers?
I think Nine has used Gem incredibly effectively. The great thing for them is they're able to take live sport and put it in prime time. What happens is they don't have to affect their existing schedule on Nine, and that means they're able to drive audiences to their alternative channel. For the viewer, fantastic, it's in HD.
Yep.
Outside of that, yes, there are much lower audiences, but they're priced competitively, and that means that the smart buyers are able to take advantage of that, and they're using them effectively to bring down their total CPMs.
What do you make of news in general? Because the Nine networks this week won the ratings for the year for its Sydney and Melbourne news. Nine in particular has had quite a bit of success with news this year. What does that go down to?
Buyers love news. Buyers love news. The erosion in the break is much lower than other formats because people want to watch it all the way through. And on top of that, they're quite stable audiences, especially with the volatility that we have seen of late in the TV market. So for those two reasons, they love the news. And obviously for Nine, what happens is if you get a great news slot, it helps the rest of your schedule for that evening. So obviously it's fiercely fought, depending on which market. Obviously, you talk about Nine from a national perspective, but depending on if you were talking about Perth or Adelaide, obviously that would be 7. So what happens is it's something that's fiercely fought. It can set the agenda for the rest of the evening, and obviously, as I said, the traders absolutely love it.
Just quickly, I want to mention you again, because you've only been in your new CEO role just about a week. So let's talk what some of the challenges you'll face over the next year, do you think? What are you expecting to see in terms of challenges?
Well, I think we have exactly the same challenges as Tony Abbott. And that's what they're calling out, is we're in a low-growth world. And Australia is actually part of that low growth. And all of the companies and the clients that we're dealing with are also battling in this environment where if you're not developing new products or finding new audiences or finding new clients, then you're going to struggle. And I think without that invention, which we need, our clients need, and actually Australia needs, we're not going to grow. And with that growth, when I joined 4 years ago, we had 2 offices in Australia. 4 years later, we have 4 offices. And it's really the network effect. It's not twice as many opportunities and twice as many problems. It's far greater than that. And our problem is the retention of talent, because talent can walk anywhere. Silicon Valley is just around the corner. And certainly that's where we're worried our best and brightest in media are going.
All right, challenges ahead. James Hire, good luck with the role. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks, Ingrid.
CEO of MEC there, Australia and New Zealand. Well, that is all we have time for on this edition of Media Week. Stick around, though. We have more news and analysis coming up next.